So with this, we've been able to treat ontological philosophic foundation of science. Now let's go to the next one. Gnoseological philosophic foundation of science, or you can also call it epistemological philosophic foundation of science. So here we say that this means epistemology. It's another word for epistemology. Epistemology, which means theory of knowledge. We say this is a branch of philosophy that is concerned with the nature, origin, source, and validity of knowledge. It provides the following function to science. Okay, here, epistemological philosophic foundation of science provides the following function to science. It points to science that the only source of knowledge is the senses. Now, in epistemology, which means the theory of knowledge, that is, how do you know? We have questions that we ask in this branch of philosophy. It's a branch of philosophy. And we have questions which we ask here. For instance, you can say, how do you know that what you know? How do you know first? How do you know that that which you know is true? And how can you justify that which you know and you've taken to be true? How do you justify it? Is there anything called certainty? Can you actually know anything for certain? What is truth? What is falsehood? So these are questions that can be raised in epistemology. And so we say that epistemological philosophic foundation of science provide the following functions. One, it points to the science that the only source of knowledge is the senses. We have in epistemology now, we have two theories or two schools of thought that actually states that so and so is the source of knowledge, is the basic source of knowledge. And then we have empiricism on one hand, and then we have rationalism on the other. Now, the scientific world believes in empiricism. That is, all that can be known in the scientific world comes from experience, and experience is being derived from the senses. That is, what you can see, what you can touch, what you can feel, what you can perceive. These are knowledge derived from the senses. And so it summarizes that scientific knowledge derive their source from the senses. Also, we have sensual cognition is primary, while the mind is secondary. So in the scientific world also, the senses is primary, while the mind, because they feel like it is when you see something, for instance, for example, you see something, that is when it runs into your mind that what you are seeing is so and so. So if you, for example, you see a white man, you did not see the white man with your mind. You saw the white man with your eyes first. And then that's why they say the senses, the sensual cognition is primary, while the mind is secondary. And then if you come down, you could actually see where it is stated that experience is the basic source, while the mind is the processing tool. So if you touch a table, for instance, your sense of touch is what came first. And then it is in your mind that you now process that what you are touching is hard. And this is a table because it has the shape of a table. All the processing goes on in the mind. And thus, they also say that the method of obtaining new scientific knowledge are observation, experimentation, and induction. These are the ways in which scientific knowledge are being gotten. So the scientist is not interested in ideal knowledge because he cannot experiment on them. He needs to observe things. Let's take a good example, the law of gravity. The law of gravity has been accepted to what? To mean that whatever goes up must come down. Now, it is simply an experiment that was conducted through observation. Now, an example would be if I take my phone and then I go to China and throw it up, my phone will definitely come down. And then I go to UK and I throw it, my phone will go up and it will come down. I come back to Nigeria, I throw my phone up, it will definitely come down. And then I go to Turkey, go to Japan, go to Germany, go to Brazil, go to France, go to everywhere in the world, and I throw my phone. And at every point, everywhere I threw the phone, it came down. And everything that I threw up also came down. It implies that from observation that this has been able to, can be proven to happen everywhere. So we can come with the general concept or general statement that whatever goes up must come down. So, in other words, this philosophic foundation of science offers explanation on the nexus between the knower and the object of knowledge, together with the process that binds both together. So here, epistemological philosophic foundation of science helps the scientist to understand that there is a relationship between him as the knower, as an observer of a particular event, and then there is a knowledge he is deriving from that event. How does he interpret that knowledge? How is he deriving that knowledge? And then what is the outcome of such knowledge? And that there is a relationship between him as the knower now and the object, that is what he is observing, and then the process that binds him and that object together. So the scientist is not aware of this. It is the philosopher that sees it, and it is the philosopher that is pointing it to him and saying, this is how you are going about this. You don't see it, you are just interested in the object that you are observing. But me as a philosopher, I'm telling you that there is something between you and that object that you are observing, and that and that thing also can be extended in the process that binds the both of them together, in the process of observing that particular object. So this I've been able to do justice to epistemological philosophic foundation of science, or museological philosophic foundation of science. So move to the next one. Social philosophic foundation of science. So here we say that the output or products of science and technology are all societal based, in the sense that everything the scientist does is in the society, for the society, and by the society. Let me don't define it as democracy, but just take it that way, that everything the scientist is doing is for the society, it's for the people in the society. So it cannot be outside the society. So we say that scientific researchers or researches are motivated by the needs of the society. Thus, there is a link between philosophy, society, and science. So it is when the scientists look at the society and they say, oh, people are trekking too much. Why not I see how to make a car that can make it easy for people to trek fast, people to go to where they want to go to fast. And also, so these are examples. It is the needs from the society that spring up more scientific researches or experiments. So just like when I said about malaria, it is because malaria is killing people today, HIV is killing people, COVID-19 is killing people, cancer is killing people. It is these needs from the society to solve this problem. That's what springs up or motivates scientific researches. And so we say the philosopher in the reflective mode views that science is made for the society and not vice versa. So science here is meant to serve the society and not the society serving science. The society cannot serve science. If society serves science, then we have a problem. We have a serious problem. It makes science become tyrannical in nature. So science is to serve the society, is to help the society, help provide solutions to to societal problems. So from this, we say that there is need for proper social foundation there is need for proper social foundations such as culture versus the content of scientific knowledge. Now we know that every society is made up of culture. That is, culture is the basic summary of a society's identity. So we have this problem of balancing culture and the content of scientific knowledge. Just like I said in the last class, I gave an example of the introduction of the advent of phone affecting our communal African way of living. Now, we see that it's now easier these days for children, for kids in African setting to have access to social media or social medias because of phones. Because of phones and the internet, the advent of the internet, people can actually see things as fast as they have data and good network on their phones. Now, these productions, let me use the iPhone for instance. These productions, these things are done by Westerners, but they are not taking cognizance of the cultural values we have here in Africa. Today, you have gay marriage is being promoted in some societies. Some research, some scientific experiments are coming out to support gay relationship, and before you know it, it will troop into our society, even though our society or our culture does not accept, we abhor gay relationship or gay marriage relationship. But very soon, because science, there is no control between the culture. The scientist is not trying to look at the gap between culture and his scientific researches. So he's doing everything thinking that it would serve everybody, but it can't serve everybody. It can't serve everybody. So there should be need to also consider some cultures, some cultural background, because culture is not a universal concept. It is relative. It's a universal concept, but culture itself is relative. Culture differs from society to society. What happens or what is happening in Oka is not the same thing, that is not the same cultural value you would find in Onitsha. It's not the same cultural value you find in Anambra, you find in Imo State. So secondly, we also have knowledge is objective, attitudinal, and knowledge is adaptive and practical. So here, knowledge for the scientist is trying to create just almost the same thing in the first function. Knowledge created by the scientist always happen to have this view that it is objective. It is objective. It's applicable everywhere and anywhere. And then we know that the society is subjective, and so we will always have this debate between objective attitude of knowledge from the scientists and then knowledge that is adaptive and practical, that is knowledge that is now societal based and based on culture, that is knowledge that can be adapted, that can easily be adopted and can easily adapt in that particular culture. And in adapting it, is it practical in that adaptive mode? Is it practical, or is it just taking everything? So you see that some things come in, they don't fit in our culture. Some scientific breakthroughs come in, but they don't fit in our culture, So these are ways in which the scientists need to understand that there are some social foundations that have been laid down that he must always observe, not just creating everything and then dishing it out to the society. So the main aim points to the fact that science deals with objectivity, but this objectivity is subjectively applied in accordance to the peculiarities of culture. So we'll move to the next slide. Okay, so I've done justice to social philosophic foundation of science. We'll move to the next slide.